everybody, and welcome to How to Draw the Face so that it appears proportional. We are going to be starting out with what shape your face actually is and then moving on from there. So usually when I ask people what shape their head is, the first person to respond will say a circle. And that person is not completely wrong right now because we are going to be starting with a circle, but then we're going to make it look more like an egg shape. So just like we did with the eye demonstration before you all went home, we went around and around and around, and we tried to create that appearance of, or that feeling of muscle memory. So by going around and around and around, and you can use your whole elbow, move your whole elbow to move your whole arm, and go around and around, you make sure that when you finally do put down your tool, you're going to wind up making something that looks pretty round. All right? It's helpful to go around more than once so that way you can then kind of pick and choose which lines you want to keep. And from here, I'm then going to create the U that exists underneath this part of my face for the lower part of the chin and the jaw. All right, so again, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And once you feel comfortable, you can create your jawline. All right, from here, I can now erase all the lines that I no longer need and any lines that got a little funky. All right, and I'm gonna use this eraser to do it. You can use a regular pencil eraser, that's fine. I just happen to have this one with me. Okay, again, I'm choosing which of these lines I want to keep, kind of narrowing down the lines that I don't want to keep. All right, I'm then going to make the top of my head a little bit more consistent, although nobody's going to see it anyway except for you guys when I'm all done. Okay, from here, the next step is determining where our eyes belong. So oftentimes when you are drawing your eye, most people put them in the wrong spot initially. All right, if I ask people, where do you think your eyes are in the head, from the top of the head to the bottom of the head, they'll usually say a little bit above center. And that would mean that you're putting your eyes in your forehead. So right now, if you're set up in front of a mirror, I want you to put your one hand underneath your chin, your other hand on top of your head, on top of the very top of your head, not on top of your forehead. And I want you to notice that your eyes fall in the center of your head. If you don't believe me, hopefully you will later. But what I would like for you to do now is turn your paper on its side, and I want you to create a line that goes halfway down your head. All right, or goes across your head halfway between the top and the bottom. In order to check your work, I would like for you to lay your pencil down on your paper. And what you can do here is, with your pencil or eraser side, it doesn't matter, you can then pinch the rest of your pencil where your chin, or if you were doing this up here, where the center line is. And then when you move your pencil, you can check to make sure that both sides are exactly even. If they're not, change this now, so that way you know that that line is exactly center. Okay? So now I have a line going across the center of my head. I'm going to encourage you not to make this vertical line that everybody wants to make because they think it makes them seem like an artist. You already know about symmetry because you've been learning about it since first grade. So I don't have to tell you that one side is going to largely look like the other side. You also don't need a line there in order to remember that. So please don't add this line because it gets to be very difficult to erase, and you don't want to make a gorgeous portrait and have a vertical line going down the middle of your face. Okay? So again, we are only making the horizontal line of our eyes. We are not making the vertical line that goes down the middle of the face. It's not necessary. Okay? For the next step, determining how far apart your eyes should go and how you make your eyes on this line, I want you to consider that if you look at yourself in the mirror and you hold your fingers up to either side of one of your eyes, you can take that space that's the width of your eye and plop it right down in between your two eyes. That's how far apart they are. All right, the space in between your eyes is equal to one of your eyes. Therefore, your eyes are really 3 eyes across. Okay, so I'm going to begin by making an oval, kind of like a space holder. And that's going to represent the space that's in between my eyes. From there, and you can do this, it really depends on what you feel more comfortable with. So if you feel more comfortable making little dashes and spacing them out that way, that's fine. But I do want you to draw your 3 eyes across using little ovals anyway. All right, for this experiment of creating a proportional face. Your rules for creating your ovals are you cannot have your ovals overlap and you cannot have any space in between it because the ovals are meant to show you that your eyes are 3 eyes across. Okay? For now, I do want you to keep the center eye. Oftentimes this bothers people and they want to erase it as fast as possible, but I would like for you to keep it right now because it's going to help me to know that you followed the procedure in drawing the 3 eyes. Okay? From here, you can get more technical if you want. I mean, this is just your little diagram of where everything is supposed to belong, so it does not have to look completely perfect, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, you are absolutely welcome to draw your iris, draw your pupil, and erase, draw your eyelid, and draw whatever you think you need to draw in order for you to feel as though this looks a little bit more human and a little less creepy. All right, that being said, this is just a tutorial, so it's totally fine if it does look creepy at this point, okay? Now, the next step, oh, it got a little funky there. The next step is going to be determining where the nose goes. So I want you to look at yourself in the mirror for a moment, and I want you to observe that halfway between your eyes and the bottom of your chin, and this is when you're not talking and not opening your mouth, is the bottom of your nose, all right? So your nose exists above the halfway point. Therefore, we are going to turn our paper on its side. I would like for you to create a line that is halfway in between your eyes and your chin. That's going to be the nose do not pass line, all right? You're also going to have a couple do not pass lines for the sides of your nose, all right? So we're essentially making a box that our nose exists within. Okay, once you have these lines drawn, you're going to create your nose within the box. When creating the nose, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna have a beginner student draw their nose too small. So my recommendation is for you to think of a quarter size when you are actually making the ball of your nose. Try thinking about it being larger than you think you actually wanna make it. Oftentimes people are nervous about the size of their nose for some reason. They wanna make it look smaller, but you wanna also look human, okay? So we're gonna begin by making a circle, again, by going around and around and around, and then making a couple little circles. And I'm keeping my nose, ball of my nose on the larger side. Once I have my ball drawn, you can then go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, up and down to create your nostril, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, up and down. This muscle memory thing is gonna be something that I continually use to show you how to make facial features, how to make the head, because it helps you to keep things consistent. And then my nostrils will wind up ending up on that line, all right? Your upside down ice cream cone, if you think back to how you guys created your noses, is going to start here, so that way the shadow that cone leads to will then become the underside of your eyebrow. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. That upside down ice cream cone will extend above your non-existent eye up there. Okay, if I'm going too fast in this video, please just pause me. I'm sorry if that's happening, but I also don't want this video to go on forever and ever for those of you who are working at this pace. All right, so for the next step, the mouth, I would like, oh, I apologize. Before we go on, I would like for you to please mark 1/2 next to the eyes and 1/4 next to your nose. The reason for this is your eyes are supposed to exist halfway from the top of your head to the bottom of your chin. So they're on the halfway line, and the bottom of your nose is halfway within this space. So we're gonna write 1/4 so that we remember that. I would like for you to incorporate your measurements, your fractions, on your diagram that you make for me, okay? That way I know that we're on the same page with where things belong. And it'll help me just to understand that you understand, okay? Now, the next step is to turn the page on its side again, and I would like for you to create 3 equal spaces below the nose. All right, I'm doing this with 2 lines. I want to create 3 even spaces using 2 lines beneath the nose. And when I do this, I'm going to write 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 to show that I'm talking about how I broke up this space into 3 even sections. Okay? Now your mouth is going to exist on this line. The width of your mouth is going to line up with a certain part of your eye. So if we think about this for a second, it can't be the inner portion of the eye with the tear duct, because then it would be the same width as your nose, and either your nose would look too big or your mouth would look too small. It can't be the outer part of your eye, because then your mouth would look like it's taking over your face. So it has to line up with the center of your pupil. All right, therefore I'm going to draw the little line, and you can make this a dotted line, it's up to you, down to that first line. So this is going to be the space, oops, my line got crooked. This is going to be the space that your mouth will exist within. That may seem really wide to you at first, but that's okay, because it's really the shadow in the corner of your lips that matches up with that space. Okay, so following the diagram of procedures that I gave you all, you start with your circle, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, make a lip, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. For the other side of the lip, we mimic on the center line what we see up above. So I'm dipping down in the middle. And then the middle line of your mouth is always going to be the longest and the darkest. So that'll help this to look more realistic as well. And then with that circle below, I'm going to draw my bottom lip in here as well. And keep in mind, I do not want you to make your lip lines touch. They can get close, but really they're going to be a guideline for shadow. So that's not the goal. We don't want to make kissy lips or lips that look like they're puckering. All right, so rather than having these lines touch in the edge, I would like for you to create your shadow, so that way you know that it's the shadow next to your lips that actually extends out to that line. Hopefully this makes the mouth seem a little bit more manageable and a little less like it's going to take over your face. All right, for some reason my pencil eraser isn't in great shape, so I'm just fixing that. Okay, at this point, it will not change anything you have done so far if you adjust your face shape. So when I'm looking at myself right now in the mirror, I can see that I have a wider jawline than what I'm showing right here on this page. Therefore, I'm going to make the bottom of my face a little wider. I'm gonna add a little bit of a curve for my chin. All right, and you can adjust your face shape to what you guys are seeing at this time. Also, if you notice that you made the top of your head a little too fat or too narrow, you can adjust this at this point as well. It won't change anything that you've done so far. It's not gonna mess you up. Maybe you realize that you made, you know, your little egg shape kind of bulge out on a certain side of your head. It's okay to fix it at this time. All right, once you have your face shape that you're happy with, and keep in mind, none of this is counting the shading that you're going to do. None of this is counting any details that you're gonna add with your hair or your eyebrows or anything else, so you're still gonna look pretty weird right now. You're bald in this picture right now, so go easy on yourselves if it's not looking totally perfect. But at this point, I would like for you to turn your paper on its side again, and halfway between the top of your head and your eyes, I want you to make a line. Now, while none of my students, before I left them, had hair that looked like this is your hairline. Or rather, the hair starts to grow line, all right? Halfway between that line and the line for your eyes, which I'm not erasing, it just kind of got wiped away. Halfway between that is where I want you to make a little dotted line. My dotted line wasn't exactly halfway, so I'm making it again. This eraser is killing me. Okay. And this is the eyebrow do not pass line. This is the, if your eyebrows go up above this line, you are going to look really, really surprised, which is not really what we are going for. So, I want you to draw in an eyebrow. Looking at my eyebrow, it gets thinner towards the outside. You could turn your paper if you need to for this step, or adjust which way your hand is going. All that is good. Okay, so now we have eyebrows. Again, they do not go above that line because then you won't have as big of a forehead, and also your eyebrows are gonna make you look really, really surprised. Okay, you can check your work to make sure, just like at the beginning, that the space that you're leaving for the top of your head is the same as the space that you're leaving for your forehead or area above your eyes. Okay, now before we can start your hair, I want you to think, and we're gonna write 1/4 next to that before we forget. Before we can start our hair, I want you to think about your ears for a moment because they do play a part with your hair. So when I'm looking at myself right now in the mirror, and you will probably notice this as well, your ears are going to match up with your center of your eye at the top. So the top of my ear matches up with the center of my eye, and the bottom of my ear will match up somewhere in between your nose and your mouth. All right, now for myself, my top of my ear, again, begins about here. And then I'm gonna come out, back in. And then the bottom of my ear matches up with the top of my lips, okay? That might apply to you, it might not apply to you. You might look at yourself in the mirror right now and say, I don't agree at all. I think that the top of my ear matches up with my eyebrow and the bottom of my ear matches up with my nose. But that's going to change depending on where you have your chin tilted, essentially. If you're looking at somebody dead on, your ear will line up pretty appropriately with the middle of your eye, and the bottom of your ear will exist within this space. If you are raising up your chin and you're looking at yourself, your ear is going to be completely below your nose. If you're looking at yourself with your chin tilted down, your ear is going to end even with your nose, and the top of the ear is going to end up lining up, you know, with your eyebrow or even above that. So keep in mind, when I'm talking about where your ear is meant to go, I'm talking about if you're looking dead at another person. Okay, not raising or lowering your chin, you're just looking straight ahead. Okay, so I'm going to add in my other ear over here. Not being too crazy picky about this, and I know a lot of people want to avoid drawing your ears. Please don't avoid it completely. I can always tell when artists are trying to avoid drawing in their ears because it looks as though they're smushing their hair onto their face. So I should see at least a little part of your ear, and it's important that you know proportionally where they belong, okay? At this point, you can add some details to your ear. You don't have to add too many. It might just be helpful for you to practice looking in the mirror and drawing in what you see. Okay? From there, you can start your hair. My hair is in a messy bun right now. So my hair is going to have a forehead that comes over. Oops. The space in between your hair and your eyebrow is important. The hair that comes down in front of your ear, whether you have sideburns or whether you just have, you know, puffy hair that extends down lower, that's also important. All right, and I'm just drawing in here. If you need to extend the top of your forehead a little bit to make it a bit rounder, that's totally fine. You just don't want to extend so far back that it looks like your hairline is receding. Also, at this point, I would like for you to please take one hand, put it on top of your head. None of my students were completely bald when I left you. There should be some cushion up at the top, and therefore your hair is not completely plastered to your head. So I encourage you to add some poof. All right, which means we've done all of our measurements using the top of the head, but really it's not the top of the head that we see. We see your hair up top. So I want you to show that your hair comes out farther than just your scalp. All right, so this is a general shape of my hair. My hair is up in a messy bun right now. It is important that you focus on what direction your hair is going in. So since my head is round and my hair is up, the lines that I'm making are going to be rounded. And you're most likely going to have some type of a shadow at your hairline, whether your hair is down and falling over onto the side if you have longer hair, or whether your hair is up. No matter what, you will usually have some type of a shadow right here. I'm not going to go too far in depth right now because I'm going to be talking about hair more at a later date, but I just wanted you to see that the lines of your hair are what's going to make it look realistic. I've had a lot of students before go back and forth like this, but most people don't have their hair grow in that direction. So I want you to keep that in mind. I have some stray little fuzzies, so I'm adding those. Okay, and if it's helpful for you, I had drawn that pretty dark. So you could always erase that line for your hairline so that way it's not as prominent before you start adding all these lines. Up here I have a messy bun, so I have some hair pieces that are falling on the rest of my hair. I have a rounded part here, And again, I'm gonna go more into hair another time. But right now, this mess is kind of what's happening on top of my head, to be perfectly honest. All right, and now we're moving on to the neck. So in order to create the neck, you're going to move a little bit down from your ears because your neck starts from where the edge of your jaw is. For me, that would be about here. So I'm coming down from the bottom of my ears, down my jaw just a little bit, and then I'm gonna come pretty much straight down initially. All right, same thing over here. I come down my jaw just a little bit, not too much because you don't wanna look super skinny on your neck, and you wanna come down. Now, some of you might immediately be thinking, oh my God, my neck is not this wide, are you crazy? And no, I'm not. It's going to look strange because you have a shadow underneath your chin. Whether you have a light up above your head or whether you're outside, we almost always have a shadow underneath our chin. So without that shadow there, yeah, your neck is going to look a little bit wider. I don't want you to make your neck too skinny because you're gonna look like Barbie. So the next step is shoulders. All right, I want you to observe in the mirror where your chin lies in relation to where your shoulders are, and some of you are probably adjusting your posture right now. When I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now, I can see that my shoulders are going to come from just a little bit below my chin, evenly on both sides. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're leaning forward a little bit, your chin might actually be below your shoulders. That's totally fine. You can draw yourself like that. Just keep in mind that it will change depending on your posture. All right, from here, I'm realizing my one shoulder is a little bit higher than the other, so I'm just gonna raise that up. From here, you will need clothing. Please make sure that you incorporate clothing into your drawing. My suggestion for you is to make sure that you pay close attention to where your clothing actually falls on your shoulders, because oftentimes people will try to make the collar of their shirt right here, but oftentimes that's not what they're really seeing. For instance, my collar is a little bit further out than that. So really, whoa. Mine looks something like this. And then I'm gonna raise up my shirt, kind of like the same idea as your hair. Your shirt's not plastered down to you, so it's gonna be a little bit lifted up. And I'm adding the other line of my collar. My shirt's gonna go behind my neck, and that's where my shirt goes, okay? Keep in mind you don't wanna give yourself a choker, whether it's with your